Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. And today I'm reading what Tommy Rosen has to say about Step 2 in his book, Recovery 2.0. Step 2 says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And this is where a lot of people get stuck for two reasons. One, the idea of believing in a power greater than themselves is something that they can't get past. People could be in a position where they are angry at God as they perceive God, or they just don't believe in God and can't imagine believing in God as part of recovery. The other part where people get stuck here is admitting that their behavior has been quote unquote insane. The idea that we need to be restored to sanity implies that we've been insane, and people can have a problem with that. So there's a lot of different ways to approach this step, and that's the good news, is that, in my opinion, you don't have to compromise your beliefs in order to approach this step and fully embrace it in the way that you need to continue on your recovery journey. But you do need to understand exactly what this step is actually saying. And so I'm going to read some of what Tommy says about this step and then discuss my experience with it. So he says, arriving here at Step 2, we come to face to face with a few ideas that may be challenging for a person to readily accept. Here we are introduced to new language, a power greater than ourselves, and also the idea that we need to be restored to sanity, which implies that we have been insane. People do not like to believe themselves insane, yet how could hardcore addiction be described in any other way? The root of the word sanity is sanus, which means healthy. To be insane indicates a lack of mental health, when people regularly engage in behavior that is damaging to their body, mind, and well-being, we can see the insanity of that. Now, as much as it might hurt your ego to think this way, I think that it is clear to me in my state of recovery right now just how insane my behavior was for the 20 years that I was involved in my addiction. I was constantly trying new ways to handle the relationship that I had built with alcohol and drugs, thinking that I could handle it, thinking I was in control, despite all of the different signs that the universe was showing me that was not the case. Despite a deteriorating body and mind and spiritual condition, despite deteriorating relationships with friends and family and my spouse, despite deteriorating performance at work, and in life in general, I still thought I had things under control. And that's a definition of insanity. So when I was able to take a look back at my behavior and really objectively think about it, it was easy for me to admit that I had been behaving insanely and I needed something to help me restore sanity in my life. And that's where it came to a power greater than myself. Now, I came into recovery as an agnostic atheist. I believe that we cannot know, as human beings, we cannot know what is and isn't out there that's greater than us. That's not within our realm of knowledge to have. And I still believe that. And to me, that's not to me, that's part of humility. It's saying that I am not big enough to know what is for sure out there, that's greater than myself. But I can also believe in something greater than myself. And it doesn't have to be the Judeo-Christian God, for example. And that's what I came into this with. I had the idea that AA was about pushing the Judeo-Christian God on people and saying, and getting them to join a cult-like religious program. And that's not the case. I have met people in AA with all sorts of different powers greater than themselves that they believe in. Some of them believe in the the typical God that we would normally talk about. Some of them believe in God as a group of drunks, as in the fellowship of AA. Some of them believe in God as what a lot of us call our tribes, the people in recovery who we keep close and who we rely on. And some of them have completely different beliefs. I personally believe in a very connected universe where everybody is a part of the same interconnected whole. And that is the thing that I pray to. That is the thing that I look at as the power greater than myself. Now, I want to read some of what Tommy says about it, because I think that he really puts it in a very good way. He says, it states in the big book on page 45 that lack of power was our dilemma. If we have a problem that is bigger than us, we simply have to find a greater source of power. Now, coming to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity requires that we identify and believe that there is a power greater than ourselves. If you believe in God, it is likely you are clear that God is a power greater than you. In your vision of God, God must have the power to help you, which means God could restore you to sanity if God so desired. Take this at face value. The God of your understanding wants the absolute best for you. I tell my students and sponsees regularly that the universe may not be interested in your personal comfort, but it is definitely interested in your personal growth. If you do not believe in God, don't let that deter you from moving ahead down this path. Here is one way to approach this step. One of my sponsees has a hard time with the God thing. While urging him to remain open-minded to whatever life shows him, I ask him the following question. Are you and I, when we work together toward a common goal, more powerful than either of us in working together, when working toward that goal by ourselves? The answer, of course, is yes. Our powers together, when aligned toward a common goal, are greater than our powers alone. As a team, and by extension as a community, we are more powerful than we are as individuals. By working together in this way, we have already tapped into a power greater than ourselves, and we have not even had to mention God. So I think that really sums up one way to think about this. And to me, the important idea of a power greater than ourselves is the understanding that we are not the end all be all. We are not the center of the universe. And in my addiction, that's the way that I thought and acted. I thought and acted like I was the only thing in the universe, and that I was the only thing in the universe that could help me. I didn't rely on the people around me. I didn't think about what I could accomplish with other people. I really, unless I was forced to for something like a job, or someone told me specifically, it's your job to work with these people to get something done. Otherwise, I really thought primarily about how I was going to handle situations, what I was going to do, getting myself out of situations. I thought about my problems. I thought about everything that I thought about was centered around me. As we look at a power greater than ourselves, we can start to extend our sense of identity outside of the individual and into a community around us. All of a sudden, when we do that, some of this powerlessness that we feel starts to be transformed into something else. And once we really start getting into this sense of community and start to figure out, okay, what can I put into this community rather than what can I take? You know, because in my addiction, I was all about taking. I didn't think much about what can I do good for all of the people around me. I was about taking. And once we get out of that and into what can I put into the community, what can I put into these relationships, then some really cool things start to happen. But I'm able to look at those relationships and the way that I work with people around me and the way that I commune with people around me as a power greater than myself, if that's something that I need. The bottom line is that I'm looking at the idea that I alone am less powerful than something else in the universe, whether it's God, whether it's a different idea of something like my idea of an interconnected universe, or whether it's just the group of people that I go to AA meetings with. Regardless, to me, the key for step 2 is to start to get out of that selfish, egotistical mode of thinking, that idea that I am alone and I exist and I have to figure things out, and starting to question, what can we do together? And for me, the exploration of who is that we and who makes that up, that's a lifetime thing. And it's a fun exploration to continue to discover more and more about the powers that are greater than myself in life. Because as I've found, it's not just one. There's a lot out there that is far more powerful than me by myself. And as I continue to discover more about these powers, my life continues to be enriched, and I continue to find more and better and different ways to put things into life rather than taking things out of it. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.